Man, it is really hard to make a character design for Walhart. Maybe just give another stupid helmet to him. That's what I did for everyone else. Nah. Maybe watching some TV will help.
You bet your sweet Bippy I did.
Get those Japanese words off of me.
Bienvenue, Power Bottoms!
Crabfest is back at Red Lobster.
Yo, hold up! We've covered a real rose gallery of villains on this series so far. We've had Jeddah, a villain who's more deluded than evil and genuinely believes his terrible acts are somehow benefiting the world. We've had Gomez, a man who's well aware of the evils he's committing but is not acting the way he is by choice. Then we had Raedric, a man with no redeemable qualities who's enjoyable in just how much of a terrible person he is. After that was Hardin, who quite frankly needed a marriage counselor more than he needed to go on a worldwide conquest. And speaking of conquests, we've come to Walhart, the type of villain who has the right idea, but just takes it that teeny tiny genocidal step too far. Walhart, despite being one of the major antagonists in Fire Emblem Awakening, isn't even mentioned in the story until Chapter 12. Gangrel, the character who was actually built up as the main villain for the game, dies in Chapter 11. Now, Fire Emblem killing its built-up main villain before the true evil Satan cult takes the stage is not uncommon, but Gangrel dies really soon. It's far too soon for the final act of the Grimer to start, so Awakening just does a 2-year time skip where absolutely no one looks any different. After that, Varian and Church show up and go, hey, by the way, there's this lobster who will rip you in half like a Kit Kat bar. And with that, boom, the Walhart arc starts. Not the most well-built up arc, but that's the way it goes. And while his arc doesn't have any kind of build-up, Walhart himself has amazing build-up. He's mentioned as being the King of Valm, what was once a small, pitiful country that was very easily forgotten among the more powerful nations on the Valmese continent. But Walhart started to fight. He took up arms and, one by one, overtook neighboring countries until he amassed an empire. And now, Walhart's grown tired of conquering his continent and has set his eyes on the land far across the sea. His rise from nothing is praised by his followers. And speaking of, his followers are a little bit, fanatical. Walhart's right-hand man, Cervantes, remarks that Walhart is destined to rule over the world. And he doesn't even care that he doesn't understand the reason why Walhart's doing all the conquering in the first place. Cervantes wants to follow Walhart because it's a promise of being part of something bigger than himself. You know, Walhart is spoken of less like a king of a nation and more like the god of a cult. This is shown again in the one-off chapter boss Pharos, who remarks that she cast aside worshipping gods and instead started worshipping, quote, a god among men. Her faith in Walhart is so strong that it's even her comfort in death, that even though she didn't live to see him rise to the pinnacle of humanity, she saw it in her dreams, and that was enough comfort to carry her into the next life. All of this build-up makes Walhart not feel like a man at all. He feels like he's the god we need to attack and dethrone. This is further benefited by his design and first appearance. He gets a CG all to himself of him just standing there atop his steed, the crimson armor making him stand out from the mundane colors of his men. And atop his steed, he towers over everyone. And not to mention, just the size of that lad in general is among the largest in the game. Series even. He's a fucking mountain of a man. Forget what you heard about him before you see him. Just seeing him is enough for you to feel like he's something bigger than anyone else. And once he speaks, you realize that all the talk making him seem like a god isn't just for show. He does feel like a god. With his first line calling himself, quote, the pinnacle of man in body, mind, and spirit, and greater than the gods, he sounds like he's raging a war on gods themselves, not men. And turns out, that's exactly what he is doing. He tells Chrom that he seeks to end the war of the gods, and that the blood he spilt is just the byproduct of creating a new era. Chrom tries to remark that there is no justification for all the blood he spilt, and honestly, Walhart's response is just perfect. By whose laws do you judge me? Yours? Your sister's? The gods? Look at you! Are you not ashamed? Your mind is filled with nothing but secondhand beliefs. You dance upon the stage of your gods like a mindless puppet. That is what I reject. Being a slave to tradition, to obligation, the old ways. Damn the gods! Damn their fates and their destinies! I will have true freedom. Any man who offers less is my enemy. Walhart's desire to break free of the will of the gods. Sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, everyone says that Echoes made Grima better, but I think it really helped Walhart too. Walhart is implied to be a direct descendant of Almond Celica, and he feels like the extreme of the ideals Almond Celica believed in. Echo's story was about man breaking free from the grip of the gods and carving their own destiny. And it was good! Great! Good times had by all. But Walhart is here doing the exact same thing, carving his own path free from the gods, and he is very much not giving a good time for all. The thing that separates him from his ancestors of Almond Celica is how he's going about breaking free. Walhart believes in the strength of man, that if a man is strong enough, his will can be the will of the world. He believes that is how world peace can be achieved. If one man's ambition burns so bright, it'll shine over all mankind and they'll all follow in its light. And while that might technically be true, offering all humanity the choice of bowing to or dying from one man is no peace the world can call just. Almond Celica were a gentle light, a soothing, calming glow that brought comfort to those that followed it. Walhart is a blazing inferno. He doesn't invite people to follow him, people are simply burned away from his intensity, and those still standing amidst the ashes are the ones he deems belonging in his world. He's like if Alm's bloodthirst from Guide never met with Celica's compassion and remained as he ruled over Valentia. But the thing about Walhart's mentality is while he believes the world needs to burn under the flame of man, it doesn't have to be his own. While he at first mocks Crom for clinging to Emeren's morality, he turns around when Crom remarks that he, Crom, will be the justice that strikes Walhart down. Walhart believes that Crom should not be an agent of someone's justice, but an agent of justice itself. Seeing Crom as a fellow man of conviction, he gladly invites Crom into combat, testing to see whose flame burns brighter. However, Walhart loses his first bout with Crom, and retreats back to his castle to steel himself for round 2. One of his servants, Exilus, is planning on backstabbing him and fleeing to save his own skin, though Walhart snuffs him out and forces him to remain. Turns out, Exilus had been scheming to betray Walhart for years, as he was truly aligned with that classic Fire Emblem Satan cult. But Walhart remarks that he'd always known about Exilus's true intentions, but kept him alive and around because he amused him. Walhart got his kicks out of watching Exilus think he was better than him, and kept him around as a jester to dance on a stage. This scene doesn't have much to do with Walhart's goals or motivations, but it's one of my favorite things a Fire Emblem villain does, and I had to bring it up. When his second clash with Crom begins, Crom now attempts to get Walhart to surrender peacefully, though take a guess how that one turns out. Crom blasts Walhart's ambitions, saying that if he wants to unite people, he must reach their hearts, not make them afraid. Crom says that acts of kindness like his sister's sacrifice will live on forever, while Walhart's conquests will soon be forgotten. And with these final words, Crom drives his blade into Walhart's Walhart and ends the reign of the great conqueror. But you know, in a way it's funny. In killing Walhart and ending his reign, Crom is living in the world Walhart envisioned. Walhart believed in the strength of man, and it was through Crom's strength that he was able to defeat Walhart. Walhart's ideas did come to fruition. It was just not his flame that lit the world. It was Crom and Robin's. His dying breath isn't spent on an insult or a plea to live, just a resignation that the sword is the only way. Even when he lost, Walhart still helped give birth to the flame that would ignite the world. A true hero, if you ignore the millions of innocents massacred. But a question that, I'll be honest, I didn't ask when I first played Awakening: what god did Walhart want to reject? He says that he wanted to end the reign of the gods, but what god was he trying to end the reign of? Turns out, it's revealed that he wanted to fight against Grima. He had been fighting to unify people so that he could destroy the Dark God. While this doesn't excuse all the murder and the conquering, it does make him out to have a more concrete motive for becoming the Conqueror. It's just a single line from Aversa, but it helps recontextualize all the events in his arc and make his life and death a little bit more tragic. Is what I would say if he actually died, but Awakening had a batch of extra DLC that brought a bunch of characters back to life for some reason. Whether or not the events are canon is debated, and quite personally, I hope none of the dead people in the Xenologues come back to life. So as far as I'm concerned, Walhart's story ends with Chrom giving him the blade. And really, it's a fitting way for Walhart's story to end. The flames of conquest had been extinguished, and an era of compassion and love to take its place forevermore. Ha! Didn't think you were getting out of this video without a patron advertisement, did ya? That's right, I snuck it in at the end here just to catch you off guard a bit. For those of you who don't know, I have a Patreon, where people can give me money in exchange for some benefits like getting their names read on videos, access to polls to decide the future fate of the channel, and other small things like that. The patrons that have paid to get their names read aloud include Atomic X160, Dell, follow Penta the North Star on Twitch, subscribe to Great Riek, Green Brigand, Hell on Heelys, Hollow, Kieran Morin, Lightning Bolt, Me Do a Gamer, Memi, Nember, Nevrix the Fallen Shield Guy, Rangerman Sam, Wario Carroll, Ryan Walter, Space1255, Steph D, Tato, Anti-Ginger, Brentendo11, Drew Hack, and Michael Hamilton. If you join now, you'll get a chance to vote on a Tiering Saga episode. Yeah, I'm doing one of those. I don't care that it'll get like -5 views, I want to talk about it. Back to the end of the video. A huge thank you, as always, for watching yet another Fire Emblem MS Paint character analysis. I didn't intend to come back to release so quickly, and I probably won't be coming back to Awakening for a while, but it's a good set of characters to have for now. As always, I would like to thank the Green Brigand for his help proofreading the script, and kind of just yelling at me in general. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like on the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel or the Patreon, ring the bell for notifications, and help me get better at using Potemkin. Like, I'm trying, but I am not that good at fighting games. Until next time.
Change the world. My final message.